Good morning. How's everybody doing today? We're going to do something a little bit different today. I do have more to do on my steps. I'm going to be working on that, but you guys have seen it. You don't need to see it anymore for now. So we're going to go in there and work on the computer a little bit. I'm going to go through some of our yield analysis stuff, a few of those different side-by-sides and trials and things that we had out there, and kind of show you what I'm looking at in the yield data. We'll talk about the year, the growing conditions, and why we're seeing the results that we saw, and do a little recap on the 21 crop year, and kind of put a close on that. So I need my camera, my phone mount, so I can not have to hold it the whole time. So I know throughout the year I do all these different trials, and when we were in the sprayer, you guys saw me doing some split fields and trying different foliar feed products or whatever it was. And everybody always says, well, how did it do, or wants to know the results, and I'm really bad at going back and updating that. So that's what we're going to try and take a look at today. All right, I'm going to have to even get fancy and set up the whole screen recorder thing here, but this is our My John Deere, my account, and you can see there's outlines of our fields and the different colors or different stages of tillage and where we're at with stuff. And this is the home farm right here. You can see we're a lot of fields really close. So let's just pull one up. Let's see. Let's do this one. This was one of the last fields that we finished up with. And here you can see the yield map of that. So, all right, let's do this a different way. Okay, so here is that field, and we have a lot of stuff to look at in this one. We'll go through some of it, but probably not all of it. So I pointed out the red around the outside. That's trees. That's end rows. It's electric poles over here. Wet spot in the middle of the field, but trees. Trees are killer. So let's see, what's some of the stuff? Varieties. Let's just look at varieties. So I'm going to select a second operation. We're going to go back to corn seeding in May, and we're going to select varieties. Okay, so that loads up on the bottom here all of the different varieties that we had in that field, and there was a bunch because this was one of the last fields that we planted, so I was kind of using some stuff up. So the bulk of the field got this 04G36. There's 54 acres of it, and it averaged 196. We had some 07G73, averaged 206. That's better. There was some of this F23 that was 185. That's worse. We had a little 03R40, 204. That's pretty good too. And then there was a mix. Mix is basically when I have leftover bags from my plot, from whatever, I throw them all in at the end, and they get all mixed together. So now, those numbers down there by themselves, that's helpful. It tells us something. Why is this varieties not available? What is that? That's 34 acres. That's a lot. I have a feeling I have a pretty good idea what that is. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, that's that area of the field. I know exactly what happened there. Something didn't get set up right in the computer to start with. So before we go into analyzing this data, we got to fix that. This is the field where we used that high-speed planter demo. And basically I planted everything from here up to right there where the map starts turning green with that high-speed planter. And apparently when I switched back to our planter, our 16-row, I didn't get the variety put in right. We can fix this. So we've got to go back. Hold on, I'll get there. Okay, so from this screen we can hit this little pencil and edit, and we want to edit this one, variety, where it says no variety. That is 04G36. I am 100% sure of it. So we'll hit save, and that will modify that. Alright, so now that I've modified that field, it's going to take it a minute to reload all the data, so we're going to move on to another one, and we'll come back to that maybe. But this field here, this is one of the first ones that we combined. It is the first one that we combined. And we're going to go right into this beta field analyzer because there's a lot more data in there. Stuff that we can do. So, a few interesting things stick out to me here. Again, you've got some crappy stuff in the end rows. We've got a red streak here. We've got a really dark red streak right through the middle here. Something funky happened there, and I think I know what. We'll figure that out in a second. Kind of a strip through here. Looks really green along the road. We've got a nice green pocket right here and over here. Those, I can tell you for sure, are an elevation thing where just lower, better ground that didn't drown out this year, and it was really, really good. So, all right, we want to pull up. Let's see. Let's figure out what this red streak was. Let me pull up a map. All right, so now we've got two maps you're looking at. Here's the yield map over on this side, and over here we have our anhydrous application map. And you'll notice that there's different colors, sort of blocky. We've got this orange, we've got a red spot, and we've got a lot of green here, some more orange. But you'll notice these strips right there, a little bit right here. And if you look real close, this one right here correlates exactly with this one. What happens is when your tank on your anhydrous applicator runs empty, the rate starts jumping all over because it starts getting vapor in it and spinning the flow meters faster than they would if there was liquid in it, and it just is really erratic and jumpy. And I'm almost positive that is exactly what happened here. Our tank ran empty. I didn't catch it in time, and we ran half a pass with no nitrogen, and it shows up right there. Now that happened again over here, but I probably caught it and went back over it a second time, or I mean there's a little strip right there that maybe didn't get any nitrogen that you can kind of correlate with this area right here, or you know, down in this spot here with that one. So that one, this red streak in the yield map, that's operator error. But there's something else going on in this field that I think is really cool. All right, so we've got a different map over here. It's all yellow. This is a target rate map. 15 means 15 gallons per acre, and that is for our V5 fungicide that I sprayed on June 8th. It was a tank mix of Quadris and water. And the yellow areas are what got sprayed. The non-highlighted areas there are what did not get sprayed. Now if you come down to the bottom here, let me make this just a little bigger, we can see that 15 target rate. Harvested acres was 52 or 53.2, that'd be the yellow. And then the non-target rate, not available, which is where we did not spray, 21.2 acres. Look at the yield difference, 168.8 versus 149. That's 20 bushel difference where we sprayed, versus where we didn't. Now, that data is a little bit skewed because you got these ends, you got this strip along here, you've got this red streak that kind of threw stuff off a little bit. So what we're going to do is we've got this strip right here. Let's highlight that area. Let's just highlight a little strip out of there. So we come up here and we hit this, and then we're just going to start right along the road. We're going to come out here a little ways, come down here. We'll stay out of the reds on the ends, and then we'll close our box in. So now it's going to give me the data from just inside of this box. It's highlighting that. It's highlighting it over here. Same thing. And it will load at some point. There it is. So now, selected zone, we're at 15 acres that got applied, or no, 8.5 acres that got applied, 3.5 that did not. And then if you look at the yield in that zone, 171 versus 149, so it was actually a bigger difference right here than across the whole field. And that is significant. So that's the power of all this data collection and the ability to make these yield maps and have all this data from the sprayer, from the planter, all that stuff available to us, and then the program to be able to analyze it, is I can tell what works and what didn't. And we can do this same exact tests elsewhere in other fields, and I can show you the exact same thing or something very, very similar. So that one is the early V5 fungicide. Let's see what else we can look at. Oh, there's a couple other things on here that it gives you. I mean, wet weight, total weight, those don't really matter because they're all getting converted into yield, bushels per acre and total. But one other thing is the moisture here. You can see there was a moisture difference. Where we did not spray was 1.5 points drier than where we did spray. Now, that's not a horrible thing because it means your corn's healthier and it's hanging on longer and it's putting more bushels on, clearly. I'll take the yield over the 1.5 of moisture every single time. Okay, so we are on to another field here. This is a soybean field, and it was not good beans. So this is a field that we did not spray any fungicide on, which was a mistake, but we didn't because I put it on corn instead, which, I mean, it paid off on the corn. But anyway, that's beside the point. I did, however, spray half of it with an insecticide. So that's what we're looking at here, this tick mix on 813. Remember, we had aphids this summer, and I was kind of hemming and hawing a little bit about, do I need to go spray these? Is it worth it? The chemical is super cheap. It was just the time and having to go over the fields again. Well, this is a field that I split, and it was painfully obvious from the combine that I should have sprayed more. So a couple of things to note here. You see this red area? Well, there is a sand ridge. It does run all the way across this field, kind of comes all the way through here. And then you'll notice all these little red spots. Those are areas where I was having trouble with the head pushing bean stubble or whatever. It wasn't feeding in very good. The cutter bar was pushing material, and I had to stop and back up. And every time I stop and back up, it throws off the yield monitor a little bit. You get a little red spot, and then you get a green spot, and then it averages back out and stuff. So we can smooth that a little bit. We move this contour button over, and it'll kind of take some of that out, and you'll see. So there, see how it's much smoother, and you don't see each individual data point a little bit. You still get some of those red spots and stuff. You can't completely get rid of it, but it's a little bit smoother and easier to look at. So anyway, let's look over here. This is the application map. Well, does it look like it was about right here? And then we got a little, no, do you see that? See how that matches up almost perfectly? Yeah. So then we come down here and we look and say, okay, so the harvested area that got sprayed was 35.4 acres. They averaged 49.9. The 30 acres almost that did not get sprayed were 39.9 or 40 bushels. So there was essentially a 10 bushel difference where we sprayed and where we didn't. And that is unbelievable. That chemical cost me less than $2 an acre. And 10, let me do some math. 10 bushel time, no, I don't really need a calculator to figure out 10 times 12 is 120. So cost myself $118 an acre there by not spraying this half of the field. So, I mean, the good news is I sprayed 90% of our acres. The bad news is I didn't do them all. But it certainly paid off there. All right, now let's look at another soybean field. This one's down to Berkey and happened to be very, very good soybeans. So you'll notice the same thing here. We've got this red along the trees because trees suck. And then there's kind of a sandy area up here, which is why this is orange. Same little strip through here. But overall pretty flat. Now you will notice that we're a little greener on this side and a little yellower on this side. So why is that? Now this whole field averaged 73.18 bushels per acre. That's really good. But we have a June 29th application that was kind of just half of this field. Now it doesn't line up perfectly with where this turns yellow versus green, but there seems to be some correlation there. And when I go to the target rate so we can see applied versus non-applied, you see there was 15 acres that got applied. They averaged 78.3. The 48 acres that did not get applied were 71.5. So what was that product? Well, that was one of those foliar feed products that I was convinced wasn't going to pay off at all. A product called Strike from this Ag Explorer company. And yeah, that made a 7 bushel difference almost. And 7 bushels of beans times $12 is 84 bucks an acre. That pays big time. Like, that's a huge win. So pretty interesting there. Now, we may need to separate some of that stuff out. Let's it might not have been that big of a difference once you take out some of this stuff along the woods. So let's take a block. Let's just go, we'll do a little bit more so we've got a little bigger sample size, but try and keep them relatively even. And we'll see what it was inside that area. So area 7.5 versus 10.2. Now see here, it wasn't near as much, was it? 77.5 where we applied, 76.32 where we didn't. So there, it was only a little over a bushel difference. So did that product pay or not? I don't know. I don't know. How do I answer that? Well, one thing we can do is check another field. So this is the field directly to the north of the last one. The last one was around this woods here, but before we even get to the comparison of the yield, we're going to point out the repeating pattern here and say, what in the heck is going on? Look at this. Look how we've got these strips. Do you see that? You see how it's every third pass? We've got a green one, a yellowish one. Green, green, yellow, green, green, yellow. What in the world caused that? Sprayer tracks. So our sprayer is 120 foot wide. Our our combine is 40 foot. And so every third pass you have sprayer tracks. And that's the yield hit and penalty that we took there. We could try and segregate one of those out and see if we can tell how much that yield hit was. We might do that in just a second, but I want to look at this map over here first and seeing that, so this is that same strike application again. We've got the same exact thing going on, and if I look at the whole field applied versus not, they were virtually identical. No difference whatsoever. But just for fun, let's highlight out an area. And yeah, we can do it over here. So we're just going to go from here out to the road. And we're going that way because I have something else going on the other side of this plot. So we'll highlight that area and we'll see what the difference was in that block. So 13 acres applied versus 8 not, and the not got it by 0.3 of a bushel. That is not statistically different. It did not make any difference. So that product on these two fields at least, yeah, I'm going to call it a bust. Didn't do anything for me. Fortunately, I only sprayed, like 80 acres of this. I didn't use a ton of it. All right, now there is another thing I have going on here. Let me clear this off. So remember this kind of area where this is yellow here. This is the area that got strike applied. I also at the time decided to try some of that strike, and I added some boron to it. So now that's a different map. That's the couple passes right next to it. Now when this data loads, we'll be able to see a little bit, but we're going to have to highlight that out again. We need to go to target rate. There we go. Come on, data. Okay, so on this one in the whole field, that went 75.25 versus 73, so that's a little over 2 bushel difference. That might be significant, but we're comparing a small amount to a large amount, so let's again highlight it out. And we're going to compare to the untreated side over here rather than the stuff that got just the strike, and we'll compare those in a second too. But all right, so let's look in that block, and you can see here we were just the opposite, right? So 76 in the non-applied, 75 in the applied, and again, very little if any difference. I don't think this is going to give me anything either, but just for fun, we'll come over here to the area that I know was applied with just the strike, and we'll see. So that would show that we had, yeah, about a 2 bushel advantage, and that's just from adding the boron versus the strike alone, and the strike is a potassium product. So maybe there's something to putting some boron on, but it didn't show up on this side over here. So all right, let's zoom in here real quick and let's see if we can figure out what sprayer tracks cost us. I know what not spraying it cost because we figured that out with the fungicides and the insecticide pass. It was necessary to spray these beans, but just to make myself feel bad, let's highlight out a block here. We're going to take 3 passes. One of them in the middle is the one where the sprayer tracks were, and let's see. I need to hold on. All right, so this is a little harder to do than what I was giving it credit for. I can't select all 3 passes at once because there's no way to segregate out the second one, or there's the middle one. So we'll do one and then we'll highlight the one right next to it, which isn't yeah, it should tell me. Anyway, selected zone 0.2 of an acre, yield 78.7. So now we'll clear that and we'll select basically right beside it in the sprayer tracks, and we'll see here we should have 0.1 of an acre, 74. So what's that? 3-4 bushel difference from running the sprayer through it in that one pass, but it's only 1/3, not 2/3. So really, it's probably about 2.5 to 3 bushel difference. But we picked up 10 to 15 from spraying it across the whole thing, so worth it. All right, well, we're getting sort of long here, so we're going to wrap this up. But one more thing we're going to look at, a side-by-side here. In this particular field, we are back into the corn. This is a cornfield down to Berkey, and we have two different varieties for one, so we can look at that. Well, we actually had three varieties because this is the field where my plot was. So I'll pull up the varieties map just so, come on, it's not what I want. This one, compare. So you can see where the different varieties were. And this isn't going to be a real fair comparison. You see this big red streak over here? There's something else going on there. So I highlighted out this area, those two, and I don't know what the deal is here. I probably should have stayed inside of that. In fact, let's stay inside of that. Let's move this line over. Move this line over. Okay, this will be a better comparison. I don't if there was a nitrogen issue there or something, but. So in this area, we had two different varieties. We had 10L16 and 09A86. The 10L went 233. The 09A went 227. So there was 6 bushel difference between the two in that block. I would believe that. The 10L16 is dang good corn, and it was phenomenal this year. So, but that's not why we're looking at this field. The reason we're looking at this field is for what's going on over here. Let me pull up some more stuff. This one is our tassel fungicide application. So when I had the neighbor come with his Haggy and spray some corn for us, this was a field that he did, and this is the area that he did not spray. So whole field sprayed 80 acres, did not spray 15 and a half, 236 versus 207. Let's highlight out a block here. So I wanted to stay all within the same variety, so we don't have that split. And that, you can see in the background, the shadow, that's part of what's going on right here and why that area was not as good and why we wanted to stay out of it when comparing the varieties. But, so we'll look in this area, applied 230, not applied 212. 28, right? No, 18. 18 bushel difference. 18 bushels is a lot. 18 times 550, we'll call it, just for round numbers, that's 99 bucks an acre. That's $100 an acre. It cost me about 25. So yeah, the fungicides paid big time this year, big time. And we'll probably be doing a lot more of that in the future. So that's kind of how I can use the maps and everything to analyze everything. This is there's also a way to go through and you know, I don't need to look at the maps. I can just look at the numbers on a lot of this stuff and see, you know, all of the fields, all of the acres, all of the everything, and how we did. I don't know where this number came from. We did not average that. I can assure you we did not average 271 across everything. Something's a little funky there, but. Oh, I know where it came from. Look at this field. We averaged 2,043 bushels per acre. Huh. Something's a little off there. I think we did a post-calibration and we post-calibrated it wrong, so we're going to go and try and fix that right now. There's a... Yeah, not from here. We got to go to the map page. We had an extra 0 in here, I'm pretty sure. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that and hit save. There, that brings it down to 204. That's probably quite a bit more accurate rather than 2,000 bushels an acre. So part of our problem this year is that we bought a new combine in the middle of harvest. And that new combine was not very accurate on its yield monitor to start with, and so we have some fields with some junk data. For example, this one, I'll show you the map. This is the field where we actually did half of it with the new combine and half of it with the old combine. I'll show you the harvest map, and you can see these red streaks and this green streak, and that's just garbage data. It's not accurate. It's not good. We can't use that, and it skews the numbers on everything else. So. Unfortunately, I don't have great stuff on everything this year, but that should be better moving forward now that we're getting that combine dialed in a little bit better. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. I know that was a little bit different, but I know some of you really like that in the computer side of stuff and analyzing, you know, and how we make those decisions. So to summarize and to kind of wrap up 21, You know, we had an early and dry spring. We did some stuff in March that we very rarely get an opportunity to do as far as the tillage goes. We got stuff planted relatively good shape. We had a lot done in April, which sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. And then it did get wet for a couple weeks there in May before we dried out again. We were able to get everything finished planting. And then it started raining middle to end of June, and it kept raining basically all summer. We never really had a drought here. We never got too dry. We never really got too wet. We didn't have a bunch of drowned out, flooded stuff because it came later. You know, we had a lot of rain there right around wheat harvest time, but we had an outstanding wheat crop, averaged right at 100 bushel an acre on wheat, which is fantastic for us. And then, you know, as we went into the fall, it did start to get a little bit dry here in September. Took some of the top end off our yields, but overall we were in really good shape, had great yields. Like I said, our data is still a little bit suspect, so I'm still going through and analyzing that. I can take the data from the grain cart and use that to calibrate stuff on the computer, kind of a post calibration. I just haven't gotten all that data off of there yet and sit down and taken the time to do it. So once I get that done, I'll have a little bit better idea of where we're at and what everything yielded. But for the most part, we had a pretty successful year. 21 was a good year from a profitability standpoint because grain prices were pretty high. Things went up a lot last winter into the spring, and they've stayed there. And our inputs were relatively reasonable. Last fall, we were able to buy our fertilizer and our chemicals and our seed at pretty reasonable levels. That's not the case for 22. We're going to talk about planning and stuff for next year in another video. The next time I have something that I need a day's worth of content for, we'll talk about planning for 22 and some of the challenges that we're facing right now. But it's going to be a struggle. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made that are not easy to make right now. So if you have any questions on comments of this, you want to see more of this kind of stuff, something different, whatever, leave that in the comment section down below. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up for me. I would really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. You'll notice I have a couple of boxes there. That's new rainwear, power washing suit for Brock. Brock, when are you gonna come and do that? I should really be doing it right now. It's quite warm outside, nice, and I should be power washing. But I need to go finish working on my steps, so I'm gonna go work on that. You guys have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in again. I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching all these post-harvest videos and everything. I promise to get back to the shop work and equipment. We need to spend a day servicing the combine, changing oils and air filters and all that kind of stuff. So next week, that's going to happen. Hoping to wrap up my stairs project, or at least what I need to do of it right here over the weekend. And then next week, we'll be back to shop work. Probably washing on a combine some. It's supposed to get chilly. There might be an opportunity for some tillage next week, down to mid-20s, low 20s, a few nights there. So maybe we'll do some more ice tillage. Thanks for watching today. One more thing, because every time I do a video in here, I get questions about these arrowheads. We did not find all those arrowheads. I have an uncle that kind of collects them. He likes them, so he's bought some of those. I did find this one. I found this one last spring out in our field. I was pretty proud of myself. We've gotten a couple around here that we've found. I don't know that any of them are actually down here or around. They're around, but no, we did not find all those.